So welcome. This webinar is all about wrapping up what we've been speaking about over the last sort of 9 to 12 months, the various different webinars that we've done. And this is kind of to join it all together and to refresh anybody who has been joining these and just give you a quick reminder of the technologies and the product sets and everything that we have in the Aginet portfolio for ISPs at TP-Link. And also for any newcomers out there, this will give you a very quick overview of the different, again, product sets and technologies that we have. So, excuse me, if step on to the first slide. For those of you who were on the last webinar, you'll remember this slide from as the last slide, just notifying people of what this webinar was going to be all about. And hopefully on here, it's a bit of a busy slide, I agree, but as you can see, TP-Link in the Aginet portfolio have a full end-to-end solution for ISPs, covering anything from the fibre deployment, the infrastructure side, into the fibre devices in the home as well, also DSL devices, 5G devices, routers, mesh, management, systems, configuration tools, everything, and of course a user app. So, and that's what we're going to be talking about today, covering over all of these solutions, these product solutions, but then also some of the technologies as well, and a few of the key features. So, moving on to the products, we'll cover over the PON, fibre and Ethernet routers, Wi-Fi mesh, DSL, FWA, and the app. So looking first at PON, one box solution. So we do have a set of products where we have a direct fibre in from our OLT product set into the routers directly. So no requirement for an ONT in this case. We have various different, Wi-Fi 6, Wi-Fi 7 solutions. And of course, from there on in, we would go on to mesh devices to create the whole home coverage for Wi-Fi. So this is a one box solution, said, because there is a few opportunity for few ISPs starting to look at doing this in the UK now. It's more prevalent in Europe. In the UK, we tend to do a two-box solution, which is on the next slide. But it is something that we are being spoken to about, being approached about more and more about a one-box solution. And maybe sometime in the future, it might be a few years yet, but I'm sure that it's something that's going to become more prevalent in the UK. However, for now, we absolutely are primarily a two-box solution, and I would say probably 90% of deployments of fibre in the UK today is using this, where again we have the OLTs, in this case pizza boxes here, but we also have our chassis solutions as well for OLTs, and then leading into that two-box solution with an ONT, just showing a few here, and that from there on in converts from a fibre into an Ethernet presentation for an Ethernet WAN, and that can then go on to any of our Ethernet WAN router mesh products. Remembering, of course, that our routers are mesh, our routers. They have dual functionality. They can be used in whichever way you wish to use them. As you can see here, for again, Wi-Fi 7, Wi-Fi 6 solutions, and it's just showing quickly here, having an Ethernet coming into the mesh environment here, for example, or coming into a router and then onto a mesh. And of course, again, for those of you who won't have heard it, or even a reminder for you who have, a router in our world has voice ports on it, and that's really what determines what is a router and what is a mesh device. Other than that, they're very, very similar in their spec, their capabilities, and their abilities. So looking at Wi-Fi 7 routers that we've spoken about this year, we've got a very large portfolio, as I'm sure a lot of you are aware, and I'm singling out the core or key devices here that we've been speaking about. And in the Wi-Fi 7 world, anything from a 4x4x4 tri-band solution, which of course is a premium product with a 10 gig Ethernet WAN interface on it and a 10 gig Ethernet LAN interface, as well as 3 other 1 gig LAN ports as well, and the voice, as I mentioned. So very much a top of the shop, top of the range type product for the home environment. Could even fulfill some small home office and Soho type sort of environments. So with some of the small businesses being able to use the capability of this with its Wi-Fi and its WAN capacity. Then middle of the road is the EB431 we have here. This is a dual band Wi-Fi 7, but still 4x4 and running a 2.5 gig WAN and LAN port as well. So able to match up from WAN to LAN side, much the same as you can on the EB831 here that we were talking about just now. And again, with FXS ports on board for your VoIP. And then our entry level, our new device here is our EB200V Pro. Great little entry level product. It's Wi-Fi 7 still, dual band still, and a 2x2 because it is entry level, but still with a 2.5 gig WAN and LAN ports, but just one FXS for voice here. To give you an idea on sizing of this device itself, these are a little bigger, even though the graphics look the same because they're the same design, but this device itself is a little bit smaller. Its footprint from a side view is about the size of an A5 sheet of paper, and it's about 2.5 centimeters deep or thick. So just to give you an idea of that sort of size. So it's very inintrusive, fits into a home environment very nicely. And also this device comes with a foot plate that clips on to the bottom to help that stability, obviously being 2.5 centimeters roughly deep. It needs that foot to ensure stability when it's standing upright like this. But the advantage is that foot plate can unclip off the bottom and can clip on the back and enable you to wall mount this product. And that's something that seems to have gained a lot of interest, and we've had a lot of people be very excited about that and using that because the ability to connect your router or attach your router to a wall is obviously something that's quite useful. Then moving on to Wi-Fi 7 mesh devices or mesh routers. As I mentioned earlier, they can be used as routers as well as mesh. And we've got again a wider portfolio, but just picking out like the 4 main ones that people seem to be engaging with and interested in and deploying. And again, we have a top of the shop, our premium mesh, and spec will be familiar, very much aligns with the premium level router we were talking about just now, where it's a tri-band 4x4x4, and again 10 gig Ethernet WAN and LAN port to go with that. But you'll notice on here being a mesh, no voice. Couple of middle of the range products, one being a tri-band on the HB610 here. Tri-band, yes, but a 2x2x2, so not a 4x4x4 like the 810 over here. But again, it gives you that tri-band functionality from a Wi-Fi 7 perspective, and it does have a 2.5 gig WAN port, and then 3 additional 2.5 gig LAN ports as well. So quite high spec on the WAN WAN and LAN connectivity. The other entry level is the HB410 here. Now we're going to the dual bands. This is a 4x2 solution on the Wi-Fi, 2.5 gig LAN and WAN ports on there as well. And then our entry level solution is the HB210 Pro, dual band again, and here's the 2x2, meaning it's an entry level, and it still has a 2.5 gig WAN and 2.5 gig LAN ports as well. So quite a good spec on the Wi-Fi 7 mesh routers, and certainly aligns with the router devices we were talking about on the previous slides to create that full whole home network. We've spoken this year about our Wi-Fi 6 devices, routers and mesh. And from kind of like a premium level on the Wi-Fi 6. With the router, the EX820V being a 4x4, 2.5 gig WAN and LAN ports, voice ports. So a very, very good router, and getting a lot of traction out there in the marketplace. A lot of these being deployed, and people are very happy, and we're getting great reports and feedback on the capability and the coverage. Certainly from the Wi-Fi, it is certainly something that people are certainly engaged with and enjoying. And matching up with that on a mesh unit, the HX710 Pro, a 4x2 Wi-Fi 6 device, can be used as a router again, so it has a 2.5 gig WAN port on there, and then some LAN ports as well. Entry levels on the EX520 is a 2x2, but this is with the wider channel bandwidth at 160 megahertz, which means it can actually has a higher spec Wi-Fi on the 2x2 in Wi-Fi 6 than, for example, the EX230, which is a 2x2 but running 80 megahertz on there, which is the lower spec solution on the Wi-Fi. And then again, the mesh units to match up on either of those, the HX520 or the HX220, again, can be used in the environment of a router itself, so have WAN capability, but very much, targeted at being a mesh solution with these various different routers. And we've also spoken about DSL, but only just touching on the DSL router side. And that's something, there's a clue for what's going to be coming up in the next webinar for September, but we'll talk about that a bit further. But at the moment, currently, we're sitting here with the two DSL routers that we have on screen here. This one being the Archer BR1210, a Wi-Fi 5 solution, MCT approved, so absolutely can be used and deployed into the network at this moment in time. And then also a Wi-Fi 6 variant, similar product look as the previous side on the VX230V. And again, this is a Wi-Fi 6 2x2, but with, again, a DSL port on board, which is all OpenReach MCT approved. We've also spoken about FWA or 4G, 5G modems, routers, these sort of products. And there is Wi-Fi 7 solution here. There are more coming. The next slide talks a little bit about roadmap. We'll go into that. But all of our three indoor CPEs here, and then an outdoor ODU device. All the three indoor units are Wi-Fi on board as well. So a Wi-Fi 7 with a 4x4 dual band, a Wi-Fi 6 4x4 dual band as well, and then another Wi-Fi 6 with a more entry level of a 2x2. But all of them, again, all of these CPEs have a Ethernet WAN port as well. So that enables you to use the product in a scenario where maybe it's a fiber connection with a 5G backup, if you wanted to use it that way, or what some ISPs are doing to ensure they capture the customer and stop them going off somewhere else when they're trying to sign them up. If there isn't fiber already in their location, they're providing these products with a 5G SIM, able to get them online and registered and logged into their system. And then when the fiber is deployed, they can plug the fiber in, don't have to change the product out, and the fiber can then take over and start working as the WAN solution. So a few different ways of actually using this. And of course, the Wi-Fi solution and all of these is all easy mesh, the same as the other devices we've been talking about already. And so all mesh devices that you've seen previously on the previous slides all work with these products as well. And then we have our outdoor unit. So the outdoor unit, obviously that absolutely helps in scenarios where maybe the 4G, 5G signal isn't quite as good, where it's a little bit difficult to get a decent signal inside. And in this scenario, you can use the ODU, put it outside. It has various different mounting capabilities. It is but it does provide, as we say here, a self-installation capability using the Aginet app as well. There's a slide further on in this deck about this, and I'll cover that off more. But having that ability to self-install, put it outside if necessary, or even stick it onto a window or windowsill. That enables then the internal directional antenna that's on board the front panel here. It has omnidirection as well, but it has that directional of nearly a 10 dB gain. Certainly enhances the signal capture and therefore providing you with a much stronger and much faster speed inside the home. And from there, you connect off of this device into the home, and again run mesh solution around the home to ensure you've got the Wi-Fi coverage. When it comes to the roadmap of the 5G products, there's as I say, a lot coming. We've spoken about a couple of the products just now on the Wi-Fi 6, these two, but there is a middle of the range Wi-Fi 6 coming as well. And so that will absolutely fit into some scenarios where maybe a little bit more throughput, a little bit more power than the entry level is required, but not obviously needing the full 4x4 solution. So a key product we can see coming. And then on the Wi-Fi 7 side, we're releasing an entry-level Wi-Fi 7, a 2x2 Wi-Fi 7. You saw the 4x4s, there's a couple of different variants there. And in fact, there is a tri-band, the MB825V is a tri-band 4x4x4 on Wi-Fi 7. But that entry-level 2x2 Wi-Fi 7 is certainly a solution we see key coming into the market in the future. When we look at the ODUs, we've already spoken there on the previous slide about the NE225. There is also the NE211 outdoor. Now, some of you may be familiar with the NE210. And basically, the difference between the 210 and this 211 is that the 211 has the ability to work with the Aginet app and therefore be self-install. Not quite the same mounting capabilities as the NE225, but nevertheless, if you could screw it on a wall or put it on a pole, then absolutely the app will help you point the device in the right direction to get the best signal. And then moving on to the app. So the app itself, hopefully a lot of you will be familiar with this, but it's a very powerful tool for the user. It's a free download from App Store or Google Play, and works with all Aginet products. And enables the user, the home user themselves, to do a little bit of self-service when it comes down to looking at this, their network and ensuring it's maybe running right or where devices are connected. But also then offers other functionality and features like parental control, stopping little Johnny from going on sites he shouldn't be going on, or maybe from even stopping him going on the internet when he's meant to be doing his homework or things like that. And also the other features there were like QoS. So if you're a home worker, being able to set up and reserve bandwidth. So again, when little Johnny comes home from school and fires up his game station, whatever he's playing, and starts trying to chew up all the bandwidth, you can reserve that bandwidth for you, for your Teams calls or whatever it may be doing that you're doing from a work environment. So again, this app absolutely is a real key tool, and we're seeing a lot of ISPs ensuring and encouraging their customers to be using this. And if customers are calling in to the ISP customer service agents are learning this app absolutely to be able to talk customers through and help them learn how to use it more, and so hopefully reduce the calls coming in the future as well. So that's kind of all the products that we've been speaking about over the past 9 to 12 months, to say, in the various different webinars. And what I want to do now is just cover off some of the technologies. Going to have to be jumping through some of these slides quite quickly because for those of you who know me and have been on these webinars before, you all know I can talk well. So I'll try and get through as quickly as we can, but want to ensure that we cover off everything for you guys. So Wi-Fi 7, we spoke a lot about Wi-Fi 7, the different products and the different solutions that we have out there. But, what is Wi-Fi 7? What is it all about? A lot of people will turn around and say, is it really necessary? Do people at home need all this speed around the home? Well, Wi-Fi 7, of course, it's about speed, absolutely. But there's other functionality within the Wi-Fi 7 technology that provides additional features and functionality which are far and above just speed. It's that ability for connectivity, more devices simultaneously connecting. It's about the connectivity around the home being stable, being aggregated together, which is a speed thing, but also redundancy, and that's where MLO starts to come in and enables that connectivity to remain stable and functional. And although, yes, mesh isn't part of Wi-Fi 7 necessarily, there are some additional things that we're doing, not necessarily with Wi-Fi 7, but from an AI perspective, which is included in our Wi-Fi 7, which ensures that the coverage and the roaming from a mesh perspective absolutely gives so much more. That speed into all areas, not necessarily top speed. I'm not talking about multiple gigabit around the home in Wi-Fi, but I'm talking about, for example, maybe achieving 300 or 400 megabit everywhere around the home, as opposed to 300 or 400 megabit when you're sitting next to the router, and then only 50 megabits or 10 megabits when you're sitting the other side of the home. So, of course, that's very environment dependent. But Wi-Fi 7 is becoming very important. Don't just think as Wi-Fi 7 about speed. There's a lot more to it than that. It brings and offers a lot more. FWA, I was speaking just now about the 4G, 5G devices. FWA, there's a lot of interest in this. This is becoming a real hot topic where people are starting to see the different ways of using it. I mentioned one about bringing customers on quickly if there's not fibre in place. But there's also the ability to offer these in other environments, maybe small businesses, maybe schools, maybe various different places. You can bring a 5G connection. It could be being used as a backup, but it could also be the primary. And we're starting to see 5G being used as a primary solution because the stability of 5G, as it gets rolled out and gets more coverage, is absolutely in line with potentially some fibre, and that's the feedback from some of the research that's been done. And if anybody was on my FWA webinar last month, you would have seen some of the data on there. So I would encourage you all to go back and look at that webinar to just see how strong the 5G as a primary broadband connection is becoming. And just to show you the sort of speeds, there's some testing that we've done in our environments. In one of our guys who lives here in this location, he did some testing from his home of the various different devices on 5G. So using the NE225 outside on a pole, as I said, it comes with a window mount where you can actually stick it onto a window. It can be stuck outside or inside, and that's positions 2 and 3. And then using an indoor CPE. First of all, position 4, which was sat on the windowsill, and then position 5, which is kind of in the home where you might just put it on a table in the in the corner or wherever it may be. And you can see actually the throughput capability that's actually achieved there. And so absolutely, having an outside ODU, you can see the benefit there of having that 10 dB gain or near 10 dB gain directional antenna outside pointed the right way. When it come down to an indoor CPU, don't get me wrong, still 142 meg download speeds even on the indoor CPU in the middle of the room, which, let's face it, is twice as good as any VDSL service you're going to get. So still very, very worthwhile looking at. Multi-gig PON solutions. We talked about the products earlier in the product set, but just to kind of cover off everything that we're doing around PON now, it's again something we're bringing more and more products out on. When you look at the solutions that we've actually got, GPON, XGS-PON, 1 gig, 2 gig, but we're soon be bringing to the market 25 gig and 50 gig solutions. Products, the OLTs, we've got chassis and pizza box on the ONTs, single port. We're also bringing out some multi-port devices. So again, maybe for those small office, home office type solutions, maybe in needing multiple LAN ports or on the ONT itself. That's all the solution that's coming. And also ONTs with FXS ports. So removes the requirement for maybe putting it on to the router and get it as the first entry point into the home as an FXS port there. So all these products and stuff we're doing, and releasing in the coming, future. So please do keep an eye open for some of those extra new bits. So it's an exciting time on the multi-gig PON solutions that we're doing here at TP-Link. Wi-Fi mesh, technology, I mentioned about it earlier, and that is becoming, again, a real requirement for home users. People measure their internet on Wi-Fi's capability in the home. I'm sure you guys as ISPs have suffered a phone call from the customer that says my internet is rubbish, and actually the internet's perfectly all right. It's that they are sat in a location within their home which is about the furthest point they could get away from the router, and then they wonder why the Wi-Fi is not very good. Absolutely, mesh is paramount to get right, to get a good solution, and to get a good stable solution. So Wi-Fi 7, as I was saying earlier, certainly helps with that. But also, understanding the way it works and being able to get speed into every corner of the home so that you can actually deliver a good Wi-Fi mesh, but also with sufficient coverage to each AP. Also, please do not just think throwing as many APs as you can get into a home is the solution. It absolutely is not. That can be detrimental. Too many APs can cause reflection and problems with your Wi-Fi and can deteriorate and affect the actual Wi-Fi capability. So please look to get this right. It's not an exact science. There's no hard and fast rules. It is environmental dependent, but gain experience in it, work with it, play with it, understand it, and you'll get great results. Going on to the tools that we mentioned, we have a good set of tools here at TP-Link for our ISP products. Aginet Config being one of those. This is a tool, a local tool that you would use. You can load configurations into the routers before shipping them out to customers. And the great thing with this tool is that when you use this and upload a configuration, you can set that configuration as the factory default. So in the event of a customer, don't you just love them? They love to press buttons, and they'll guarantee they're going to press the reset button at some point, and put it into a factory default state. Well, if you set the configuration using this tool, then it will come back online with the configuration you loaded back onto your system, and it doesn't become a stranded asset, and you're not having to send an engineer out to go and reconfigure it for the customer or try and talk the customer through a reconfiguration. So a very useful tool, and something that, if you don't know about, please reach out to us. Let's talk. Also, we have our what we would call our standard Aginet ACS TR69 solution. This is a basic ACS management solution, enables monitoring of a device, ensuring it's online, enables you to do firmware updates and things like that, and reconfigurations. But it is a standard TR69, which is the older technology, has been around for 20, 25 years now, something like that. But it's there, it's free if you want it. It is up to 100,000 CPEs it can manage. It can't manage big networks, but 100,000, that's quite a substantial size, and it's there for you if you want to use that. But of course, the alternative, and also obviously the one that we would like to talk about, it's our brilliant system, our TAUC management platform, cloud-based. It does a lot of stuff, as you can see here. So please excuse the busy slide, but there's a lot of information to get across on one slide. Does all sorts of monitoring of the broadband speed, of the Wi-Fi environment, all sorts of everything that it can actually do monitoring of. Monitors the health of the network in between the mesh, making sure that everything's running as it should be to provide the best solution. Live diagnostics, So a lot of other management systems, even like our ACS I was speaking about just now, it has a periodic update, maybe 15 minutes, every 15 minutes, maybe every 30 minutes. But something like that, when you're trying to diagnose and support a customer, if you're making a configuration change, you don't want the customer hanging on for the 30 minutes waiting for it all to refresh to understand if the configuration change you made has resolved the issue. So TAUC, near live, it's every minute the data, the information will update, refresh, and tell you whether any configuration changes you've just made have worked or not. And then also we capture historical information, because you always get the customer that rings up and says, I've got a problem, when I watch my YouTube, it's buffering, it's blocking, it's no good, etc., etc. And so, okay, Mr. Customer, we'll try and fix that. Let's have a look at that for you. And say, oh, that was 4 days ago this was happening. So somehow now you've got to look back and find out what on earth was going on in his network 4 days ago. Well, with TAUC, you can do that. You can look back on the history and you can understand what was going on in the network. And all of these elements here, I'm not going to read them all out to you, but all of these are feeding back into the TAUC platform all the time with information and monitoring and details and analytics and data back into the TAUC platform about your customer environments that help all of your support guys to be able to then efficiently and effectively be able to help resolve issues quickly for a customer. And of course, one of the other elements of TAUC is that it actually is doing this in the background without customers even knowing. And so potentially you can be proactive and find and resolve issues without the customer even knowing. And so therefore stopping that call coming in, which is something that, the utopia where we all want to get to. TAUC can help you do that. So looking at some of the key features then, there's some good stuff that we've been doing and we've been talking about. So let's talk about the AI-driven mesh. So we've spoken about mesh during these slides and sort of saying about some of the things that we've got. In our mesh solution, we have some AI technology. So let's just look at potentially what some of those. So in our mesh, what we're able to do, our mesh devices learn what's going on in the environment. They start to understand customer habits when they move from one place to another, what their client devices are doing. And therefore, that makes the mesh more efficient and more capable of switching a client from one AP to the other as they move through the home or through the environment. This ensures the connectivity and ensures the stability and ensures the connection is good, doesn't end up with cuts and clips and any issues like that. So very important from a client roaming aspect. And then when it comes down to actually monitoring the mesh itself and ensuring that the mesh stays stable, when a mesh sets up, it comes up with a configuration. It knows its paths to get from one point to the other and how to get back to the internet. But of course, environments change. And potentially, as we can see on this graphic here, we've got a microwave being turned on and run. And of course, microwaves can interfere with RF. They can impact a mesh network. And in that scenario, then the AI element of our mesh capability can then self-heal and ensure that the mesh maintains the best signals, the best connection and throughput to get around the mesh environment and out to the internet. So there's a few AI elements that we incorporate. There are a few others which we can talk about, but there's a couple of key ones, certainly something for people to get excited about for sure. I mentioned earlier, I was going to talk about the self-install capability of the NE225, something we spoke about when I did the FWA slides last month. Of course, having a 5G device that goes outdoor, it gets the best signal, it gives you the best performance. But of course, installing it, maybe it's a service that you guys want to offer as an ISP. It could be something you want to charge for. However, some of you may also not want to be doing that and want the customer to install it themselves. Now, of course, that can add some challenges and the customer trying to put it in the right place. So hopefully we've mitigated that with what we've put into the products to enable you to do that. First of all, there's the way you can actually mount it. As I said, window mount, stick it on the inside, stick it on the outside. Yes, there's the standard wall and pole mount capability, but we've also got a windowsill clamp, like a G clamp. So it clips onto the windowsill and pivots, and so it helps the customer be able to very simply and easily install it because there's no drilling of holes, just literally clamp it onto the windowsill. And that's a good way of getting the device mounted outside. And then for actually positioning it and pointing it the right direction or finding the right location around the building where to put it, there's a few different options here, or a couple of different options. One, there's LED indicators on the side of the NE225. 3 bars obviously is your best signal. 1 bar would be a weak signal. Try and get at least 2, preferably 3, right? Normal sort of thing. Alternatively, you can use the app, the Aginet app, and when you install the NE225 or the NE211, because that's now included on here, it has a location finder, so you can walk around the home, go to different places around the home and capture the locations of the different signal capabilities, the different signal strengths. And then when you feel you've seen the best one, go back there, install it, and then you can fine tune it by watching what's going on with the signal indicator. So a great way of getting this self-installed. And then, of course, we spoke about TAUC. We spoke about TAUC a lot. We're still talking about TAUC today. It's a great tool. It is full featured, very rich in everything it does. It enables the management of all the different technologies and different product sets and things that we have. You'll note it TAPO being included on here. That's something that's coming in the future. We could do a certain element of TAPO control using the Matter environment at the moment, but more will be coming in the future. Later into next year, we'll get more and more stuff coming out. But you can control your whole customer's home, whether they're mesh devices, CPE, or 5G CPEs, they're OLT and ONT from TP-Link, all of that via the TAUC platform. You can see it all, monitor it all, update it all, configure it all, everything you want to do on OLT, ONTs as well, and all the 5G elements as well. So obviously in the 5G, if that broadband's there, there's a very, very different configuration parameters and analytics that you need to do for the broadband, but all of that is included in TAUC. So becoming more and more powerful, more elements being added. And then when we look at some of the features in there, in the TAUC, we're talking about mesh and how that work. One of the things you can do on TAUC, just talk about this a little bit, band steering and AP steering monitoring to understand what's going on with the customer's environment, with the client network. For those of you who are unaware, band steering, that's when you're connected to a single AP, when you're on the AP, and it may be that the 5G is congested, maybe the 5G frequency, there's a lot of devices on it, and it may be, even though 5G tends to give you generally the higher speed, you may get better performance by that client being switched over automatically onto the 2.4 because it's less congested, maybe less devices on it. That's band steering. We monitor that via TAUC, and we're able to understand what's going on and being able to control that and help ensure that the customer's network and the client devices are connecting to the best AP and the best frequency. And when it comes to the best AP, that's your AP steering. So as people move about, then we're monitoring that when they move from one AP to the other and ensuring they're actually switched across, if that makes sense. Because again, AP steering, what that's actually doing is it's controlling which AP you're on. And it may be that this AP has a huge amount of clients connected to it. So even though you may be closer to this one, you may still be close enough to the initial one that it maintains a better connection for you than this one. So it's that AI, intelligent meshing and roaming and steering and everything that goes on. Again, this is all being controlled by TAUC and enabling you to do this. And then lastly, and it is the last slide, so I appreciate I've run over a little bit here, but a lot of information to get across. There's everything else you can do in TAUC, and it's that control and management and monitoring of the customer's Wi-Fi network. not just the products, not just configuring APs and routers and the Wi-Fi elements and things like that, but also seeing the whole environment, understanding what channels are busy, what interference is about, understanding what your neighbours are doing, understanding everything about the Wi-Fi environment within a customer's premises, so that you can ensure that the Wi-Fi network is the best it can be. Because as I said, that's where you get the calls from. They call you up and say, my internet is rubbish, and it never is the internet itself, never is the broadband, or very rarely, because 9 times out of 10 it's going to be their Wi-Fi. They're not in the right place. They haven't got the network set up. They're getting interference. There's something going on in their Wi-Fi network. TAUC will help you see that and come up with solutions for that, which may be the ability for you to sell a customer additional access points and additional technology, and so increase the revenue from them, which of course at the end of the day, that's what we all are here to do. So hopefully you found that wrap up of everything we've done over the past 9 to 12 months useful.